Hey everybody, Sonia Sage from UK Spiritual Hour. So I just wanted to share some thoughts in terms of what is taking place with the energy, as well as sharing what energy I've been guided to call upon in terms of healing for the earth at this time, with obviously a focus on regions in Turkey and Syria. But before I go into that, I just want to bring to everybody's awareness sometimes, and I suppose I myself am someone who doesn't really engage in the news, mainstream media, so very often cannot know what's going on. And to be honest with you, dare I even admit this, it was only once I had my first meeting at work yesterday where I found out that there was basically an emergency situation going on in that area due to an earthquake. So just something to bear in mind in terms of Syria is that Syria has undergone, and we can forget this because it's been going on so long, Syria has undergone like 12 years of war and conflict. So things like that then create a really destabilized infrastructure. There is issues with the infrastructure anyway. Obviously throughout the day and into the night, there were aftershocks going on. So many people have not, in places like Aleppo, for example, which did sustain a significant amount of damage. Many people didn't even stay in their homes, in the buildings, and because I suppose for fear of those buildings and the infrastructure collapsing. Obviously in towns outside, towns outside those, not towns like villages and stuff, outside these regions, there could, there's obviously a lot of damage and that. And if we think about it, things like villages and that, it's then harder to get to these kind of areas. There's not necessarily as much help and assistance on the ground as there is in cities and major towns. And the other thing to bear in mind as well, when we're looking at Syria, is that there are government-controlled areas and there are rebel-controlled areas. So potentially, there could be areas or regions where, again, the help, the aid, the emergency effort cannot necessarily reach as easily. So yeah, I just thought I'd share that, just a few things to bear in mind. Now, we are going through an incredible ascension process, but one of the things that people again may not necessarily be, either may not be aware of, or that awareness can slip the mind because we're living this human experience. I'm not going to go into what I believe the human experience is in this video, but we are living this 3D human experience, which has been ongoing for thousands of years in terms of how we relate to this experience. So we can often forget that actually this ascension process is very much about the ascension of this planet, so that the universe that this planet is a part of can ascend. It's not just about humans ascending. In a sense, I see it as two sides. In a sense, we are kind of a byproduct of the ascension of the planet, yet at the same time, we are like prohibitors of the ascension of the planet. So as the planet ascends, so too do we ascend. Yet at the same time, because we are so very dense, especially if we're looking at the collective, it's a very, very dense collective. Humans are the contributor to the destruction of this planet, therefore lowering its frequency. Yet, at the same time, we cannot stop this ascension process. Yes, the more of us that awaken, the more of us that the more of us that really kind of focus on the ascension process and raising the frequency of ourselves, that will assist with raising the frequency of the earth. So in terms of what has occurred with the earthquakes, and we know that when an earthquake happens, aftershocks then happen. But what we're looking at is two very big earthquakes. And my first thought when I was told that news was, straight away in my mind was like, I need to look at the grid that Matthias de Stefano's grid, which consists of the icosahedron and the dodecahedron grids. I need to kind of see what that's saying, and I could then see that it was one of the icosahedron lines, very, very close to where these points are. Now, interestingly, where the main epicenters of the earthquakes are. Now, interestingly, this morning I've seen on Matthias de Stefano's page, he's described the region as the throat of the serpent. So I then kind of look at this energy, then bring it through then to the planetary DNA activation work that me and the group that I worked with were doing last year on the spine of Albion, and the spine of Albion being placed here in the UK. And so for humans to undergo their own kind of DNA activation and light body activation, a process that is not immediate, a process that will take many years, there has to be a planetary activation of this energy. And without a doubt, from 12/12, as much as, so the process was completed September 9/9, in September, the 9/9 portal, September 2022, of the planetary DNA activation of the spine of Albion. Yet, in terms of it going live, that then really, I believe, took place 12/12 portal. So what we now have are these DNA activations beginning to come online. Again, not a process that is going to be immediate. They're not all going to happen together. There are many activations to take place, but the key activations taking place for the next 18 months is the activation of the coccyx, which is all very much relating to our life force energy, activation of the sacrum, which is all very much relating to our centre of gravity, biorhythms of the earth, and us aligning our natural biorhythms to that of the earth. Also regulation or stimulation of the autonomic nervous system, sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous systems. And then if we're then going into, and those are very kind of, I would class those as the generic activations. So then we look at activations of the named activations. So that of Yang, which is the masculine principle. And that's gonna, even though I don't feel that's fully online yet, won't be for a couple of months, probably not until May, it then begins to pick up energy, that Yang activation. But the other one is the activation of forgiveness. Now that won't come fully online until towards the end of 2024, possibly 9/9 portal 2024. But it is one of the key DNA activations, both planetary and human, that we need to be looking at and working with. So what we then have is, if we're looking at the placement of the forgiveness activation, forgiveness DNA activation, I have its placement C4 on the vertebrae. And if we are looking then at the placement of C4 and how it will then relate to a chakra, it's looking at the heart to throat chakra nexus point. The heart to throat chakra nexus point, and our nexus points in terms of the chakras, the points in between the major chakras, so in between the heart chakra, in between the throat chakra, so around here, kind of like high heart region sort of thing. And it's then when we're looking at nexus points, we are looking at the exchange of energy between feminine and masculine. So that exchange, how balanced are those two chakras in terms of their feminine energy and masculine energy, not being too overriding in one or the other, there being a harmonious flow of both energies circulating. So that is what the nexus point is going to do. And that I feel that the forgiveness DNA activation is very much connected to that nexus point. And then we kind of bring that then through to what Matthias De Stefano has said, I'll say, in terms of that region being the throat of the serpent. So energetically, there is something really big going on. So just quickly, because I didn't want this video to be incredibly long, in terms of energy that I have connected with today, when focusing on that region of the world and what energy was it that I was going to bring through, and in meditation it was that of the Lilac Ray. So I was guided to go to call on the frequency of the Lilac Ray, which will obviously come under the umbrella of the Violet Ray, the violet flame kind of energy. And so that Lilac Ray energy is what I brought through to all the land in that region, to everything that has fractured, split, maneuvered in that region. Now, what the Lilac Ray is going to really focus on is the release of old patterns, new growth at a physical level. And this is all stuff that I've got from various websites when researching the Lilac Ray a few months ago, and I can't remember what websites, but thank you to them, definitely. It's really going to look at general balance and aligning the spirit with the body. The Archangel that is in charge of that Lilac Ray is Archangel Tzaphakiel, Tzaphakiel. And she's very much coming through with this cosmic mother of understanding energy, relating to the energy of water. And interestingly, this is the point that when I realised that she was the Archangel, that keeper of that lilac flame or that Lilac Ray, interestingly, she's very much connected to the constellation of Cancer. Now, as much as everybody was full moon in Leo energy on Sunday, if we were to look up at the sky when the moon was at its culmination point, it was directly between the constellation of Cancer and Leo. It wasn't quite in Leo. A lot of our Western astrology is off. I personally feel it is a complete reversal energy. And if we were all to be working on our full moon energy in accordance to what we physically can see and plot in the sky, rather than going along with, it's a full moon in whatever the mainstream media is telling us to do. And this has been going on for, I suppose, centuries in terms of Western astrology and the reversal. If we were all to attune with what truly is in the sky, it would totally accelerate and shift our ascension process. So just a few of my thoughts. And yeah, just to finish off, lastly, in terms of the energy that I then sent to the peoples and anybody who needs healing in that region, it was the liquid gold from the Great Central Sun. So definitely do meditate, do tune in, see where you're guided. What I am getting is that the earth is calling for that lilac ray energy, and I'm just seeing if there's anything else that comes up with the lilac ray. Very much what Archangel Tzaphakiel is going to really focus on is the releasing of old patterns and karma. And yeah, so also the individualization and expansion into the collective. So some really, really big themes coming up when we're looking at the energy and the frequencies that we're being guided to in terms of placing into these regions of the land. But definitely send your thoughts, your prayers, your intentions in your meditations. See where you're guided to focus and bring that healing to the land. Abundant love to everybody, wishing everybody well, and I will speak to you all soon.